everybody, and welcome back to KF&JF podcast. I'm so happy that you guys are here to join us for another episode of Entrepreneurs, where we try to lift them and bring them out to our communities and the world at that. I'm so happy, being the host of this show for a while now. I've learned a lot, and I like to thank you guys for subscribing, listening to our show. We can't thank you guys enough. Me and Razak can't thank you guys enough for tuning in, and we really do appreciate that. I want to also mention to you guys the importance. Summer's coming, the heat's coming, and you know what? I want you to think about those small businesses that are out there. I want you to go out there and support them because they are the lifeline to everything America is about. Because without them, we wouldn't have some of the things we enjoy in our life because they make it. They put their heart and soul into giving it the best for us to be able to enjoy. So I thank you guys a lot for that and really appreciate you. So, like I also like to say, enough of the formalities because it doesn't get me where I want to be. I want to get into this show. So you know what I got to do. You guys have been here before. Let's listen to this Razak story.
Greetings. My name is Razak. I am the CEO and founder of United Minority Business Ventures. My purpose is to help small businesses grow. This means I will assist with the creative process and maintenance of your business. The method to achieve results is simply building a deeper relationship with your customers. I do this by forming opportunities to communicate and collaborate with your followers, subscribers, and other business owners. By using a wide range of networking tools, we will have an understanding for building your business profile, what type of social media marketing fits your productivity and your availability, and building your financial profile, branding your services, product, or merchandise. Together, we may also determine what type of license is needed to operate your business. And does your budget permit the ownership of your own domain or buying into pre-existing sites that host your page? I like to drive traffic by managing your website. This allows me to work with you to select posts that create subscriptions, comments, and likes. I also assist by generating comments on other individual business sites or a page that create a dialogue of conversation directed towards your page. I also assist with the creation of the content on your media site. This will be a collaboration of ideas which will reflect on your brand, your work ethics, and the community's need to know what you have to offer them to bring a better quality of comfort to their lives and lifestyle. I can also assist with the writing of content, directing your videos, the editing process, and publishing them on various sites for marketing purposes, advertising, and promotional value.
Like I said many times, I really like to thank Razak for all of the things that he does to help the small business. He's out there, building websites and helping people to get to the place that they need to be with their business. And we really do appreciate all his help. But I want to talk about this guest that we got coming on the show today. I'm really not going to say too much, but I know this. You guys are in for a treat. So let's just get right to it and shut me up. Have her introduce herself right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Well, I'm author and owner of Morris Publishing House, Miss T Lane. I go by T. This is the thing. I started Morris Publishing House because I am an author. Okay. And I went to this company to help me write my book. It was a horrible job. Horrible. My cover design was horrible. The inside of the book, they wanted to edit it and take away my voice. They wanted to take away the urban language that I was trying so hard to portray. So that's really my story behind Morris Publishing House. I needed to find a voice. I needed an African American community that could relate to me and understand my books from top to bottom, not just, the cover. You want a cover that's like they try to say ghetto, right? You want a cover that's ghetto. But I'm from the ghetto. I'm from Compton. So I want my cover to be ghetto. You can say whatever you want to about it. You can hate it, whatever it is, but that's what I want to see. And guess what? My audience wants to see that too. That's why my book, Steamy Dreams, is my bestseller. Steamy Dreams 1 and Steamy Dreams 2, my bestsellers. But that's who I am. My name is Miss T Lane. I'm from Compton. I publish these books, and my goal is to help other authors out there that were like me, that are like me, that can't find their voice, can't find their audience, can't get their books published because of publishers that are saying they are too ghetto or too authentic or too urban, right? So that's what I do, and I'm great at it. I'm a certified publisher. I have a master's degree in psychology. I went to school for this. So when I tell you I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing. I've published already about 5 or 6 books. I have an author coming on that his book will actually be released on October 3rd. 14 years old, brilliant kid. It's called Flight of Fate. I just finished his book and uploaded it to Kindle. It's gonna be distributed everywhere. And when I tell you global distribution, that's worldwide. We're talking about Europe. We're talking about Canada. We're talking about everywhere that they want to buy books, that book is going to be available. So that's who I am. And I hope that that makes sense.
It
You know
does.
what? It makes sense. I'm 100% behind you on that, man. Because
Thank
you
you.
know, I think what I want to say, because what you said was a lot and it's important, but it really goes to what this show is about. It's about real, authentic, and honest. So when you put those things together and what you said, you calculate everything that this is about, because we want to make sure that we allow people to be authentic and who they are in their business. So I'm really proud of you for, you know, being solid with that information and making sure that you don't have to be shameful about what you do, and don't let nobody take that from you, for sure.
Right.
That's
Right.
an important piece. So I'd like to ask you about writing. Writing is one of those things that not everybody's gifted in doing. Talk a little bit about how did you come about, like having the time to figure out, because usually people outside playing and doing stuff. When you were writing, were you by yourself or
You
spend a lot of
know,
time?
I will say this. Writing comes to me naturally, right? I can get started on a book and write it, and I can't stop. That's a little bit of a problem for me because once I get started, I really can't stop. And it drives me crazy because I have these ideas and these characters and these things in my brain that are like trying to jump out. And I have to sometimes just say to the voices in my head, I have to say, shut up, be quiet. I got to go to sleep. I'll get back to it tomorrow. But also it comes from a level of pain as well, right? So even though I had the natural ability to kind of do those things, I went through something that was so hard for me at a very young age. When I was 16, I found out that my mom was on drugs and she was using again, right? So this is her relapse. I was actually raised by my grandparents until I was about 12 years old. And I wanted to be with my mom. She had just had a baby, had my little brother, and I'm just like, okay, it's time for me to be a big sister. I want to be with my mother. So I made the decision at 12 years old to go live with my mom and my brother and my stepdad. And my life kind of derailed. Before I went there, I had this private school education. I was a good girl, so to speak, right? And my grandmother always told me to, speak well, act like a lady, all of those things. So I had a great upbringing. And when I went to stay with my mom, things changed for me dramatically. I moved to an area called the Jungles in LA, which is like, I mean, y'all seen Training Day. Stop playing. Y'all seen the movie. That's where I actually lived. I know those guys in that movie. That's my life. I knew them. And when the movie came out, I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, oh my, I'm yelling out all of these names, just sounding super ghetto. But that's my life. My mom got on drugs again, and it derailed me. I ended up having to raise my little brother on my own, doing all kind of crazy stuff, that wasn't even legal to get the bills paid. And that part of my life is so dark, right? It's so dark. I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of pain, and all I could always think in my head is like, I'm 16, God, why me? Like, this isn't my life. Why is this happening to me? And when I started thinking about the reality of it, like maybe I can learn something out of this. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe God is trying to teach me a lesson. I had a lot of conversations with God, and I wasn't really getting the right answers that I wanted. And the only thing that helped me feel better was writing. That was the only thing. I pick up my pen, sometimes I would actually be in my bed sleep. And those voices in my head would be waking me up. Hey, write this. And I would write these stories. And, when my mom would come home from one of her binges, she would, look at my paperwork or look at something that I wrote. She'd be like, oh my God, you wrote this. Like, but she believed in me. Even in her drug addicted craziness, she still found a place in her heart to love me and inspire me and encourage me to keep writing. She was my biggest fan. And she's passed away now, but she was the person that really told me that I was gifted. I didn't know that writing was hard. It came so easy to me. I really didn't know that it was a thing that people couldn't do. So when she started to have that, feeling of, oh my God, you're great at this, it just inspired me to continue to write. And that helped me get through one of the worst things in my life. One of the worst things in my life.
I think that you're so authentic, and it shows through not only the smile that you're giving, but the words that you're saying at the same time. So I like to ask you a little bit about the friends you had to deal with during that time. When you're young and you're writing, and people are calling you to come outside and play and do all these types of things, and you had this passion about what you were writing because you said something that was, that I think we all go through, and that's that voice in our head at night that telling us to jump out of bed and write something down, because I just experienced it the other day. So talk a little bit about how you work with that aspect, and also being a youth not being able to experience you inside, you in the house.
The funny part about that, I was inside, but I actually had a great group of friends. I really did. They saw the talent in me, and I had people around me that wanted me to be great. And at the same time, not, because they also helped me destroy my life, right? But I don't think they understood the whole magnitude of what it was they were doing. But my friends, if we were out, I'll use this for an example. One time, and because I was the one that was the driver, I had the driver's license, I had the car. So one day we were out, I was driving, and I was sitting in the car waiting on somebody to come out of somewhere. I don't even remember who it was. One of my friends went inside, and I was waiting for them to come out. And I was sitting there, and I could hear this song, the instrumental for one of Scarface's song came on. And it was the instrumental, and it was just playing, and I could feel his pain. Whoever wrote this beat or put it together, it's almost like it was speaking to my soul. So I just grabbed a pen and a napkin out of my glove box, and I just started writing this poem, just writing. I couldn't stop. It just started coming all out. And the title of that poem was called Life is a Struggle. And I can remember like the first line is like, life is a struggle. It's like one big bubble. It pop. You just could be doing double. Life with no bail. Life is hell. Something like that. Like it keeps going on and on and on. I have it written down somewhere. But that right there was my inspiration. And then I would have my friends read it. And I'm like, check this out. What you think? And they would be so happy for me. They would be like, oh my God, write something for me. Like write a letter to my boyfriend, or write this for me. Like this is great work. So when you asked that question, was I inside? I wasn't. I wasn't. I was outside writing, and my friends were helping me and keeping me inspired to keep going.
Man, isn't that something that's I don't know if I want to use the word universal, but it's something that connects writers and people with your description that you said, that you just came out, start writing it, and all of a sudden it just keeps going and going and going. I know I've experienced that. I try to write stuff, I wake up, write something, and then
Yeah.
just keep writing it. So
Yeah.
it's just like, maybe people don't know that they're missing out on something, that they just continue to follow what's coming out of their head. Just write it down, put it on paper. So I really do think that that's something that connects us all, people that are writing. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'm gonna pass it to Razak, is you talked a little bit about living in Compton, a little bit of having the family issues and things like that. How did that how do you feel that um, you know shaped you as an adult you are right now and what
You
you're doing?
know, I I think it builds character, right? I felt like something inside of me, being 12 years old, I felt like there was a piece of my life that was missing. Not just my mother, but that character building part. even though I lived in Compton, I will say that I was a little spoiled. I was raised by my grandparents, right? So they pretty much gave me everything I wanted. Had cable in my room, had a car, like when it was time to get a car, I had a car. They helped pay for it, all of those kind of things. I went to these private schools. They had, education set up for me from day one. But there was always something inside of me that felt like I didn't know anything. I felt like I didn't know enough about my culture. My mom drank Kool-Aid. My grandma was like, we can't have that in the house. My grandmother didn't listen to rap music. My mother did. My mom loved the Black Panthers. My grandmother is like, Panthers are black. And I'm like, hold on. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't say that. Like, it's literally the Black Panther Party. So I just felt like I could relate to my mother a little more, and having that experience growing up in the jungles, growing up in a really hardcore environment, I wouldn't recommend it for anyone, especially not my children. I wouldn't say, hey, go out there in the ghetto and go build yourself some character. But because that's what was set for me in this timeline, I think that it helped me grow and make better decisions for not just myself, also my children. Without that, I probably would have still been attracted to that lifestyle, going to the ghetto and trying to do things that aren't right, so to speak, or living hard, right? I think that that was the part of it that I thought I needed in order to say that I'm somebody. I think that deep down inside, I felt like I didn't deserve to be where I was with my grandparents. I feel like I didn't deserve that. But it did help me to build the character. I don't know how to really I don't really know how to explain that, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea to feel like they have to live a rough life in order to have a good life later on, because that is definitely not the route. And I think that's a part of me writing these books, right? Learn from people that have already done it the wrong way so you don't have to do what I did. I mean, I ended up getting arrested, going to jail at 17 when I had graduated at 17. I was supposed to be somebody else. I wasn't supposed to be the kid in jail with a juvenile record when my grandfather was literally a juvenile probation officer that raised me. That was not supposed to be my story. So when you ask, okay, how did it shape me? I can say that it gave me grit. It taught me how to fight. It taught me not to kind of cower down. It taught me to be strong. But I think that I also could have gotten those same qualities going to college. I could have gotten those same qualities if I had done it the way that my grandparents intended me to do it. I hope that answers the question. That's a tough one.
I think you did a great job, because you showed just in your words there that you don't have to be living in the ghetto to feel like you got to get something that makes you strong and all that. There's so many other places that give you those same things and teaches you those same things in order to build your character and give you some kind of grit and strength that you need, not only as a person but as a black woman
Yeah.
in many cases. So, Razak, I'm gonna pass that off to you.
Man, I like that little, I like that what you just said right now. That was like dead on. You know what I mean? I've also grown up around the L.A. Watson, Compton area. I also was in a whole lot of different areas also. But the question I would have is like, how do you approach the writing process? I mean, okay, so well, I also, I'm a, I guess you call it aspiring artist
Yeah.
or author, what I mean? But I draw too. So, I guess that would be the same thing. But do you have a specific ritual or routines that assist in your writing process? And also, when you're answering this question, how do you, how do you create? What I mean? Because a lot of writing techniques are out there. So maybe you can give a little more specifics or details on how does your writing process work for you?
Okay. So what I want to say to that is that you just have to do it. I know we all talk about, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. I want to do this. I want to do that. But if you don't literally sit down and put pen to paper, it's never going to happen. And it doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's where a lot of authors go wrong at. They don't know where, I don't know where to start. What's in your head? What is your mind saying you want to write about? If you say, well, I want to write my story, I want to write about, how my mom and my dad abandoned me. Let me just say this. Jimmy Butler's story to me needs to be written, because the fact that he made it to the NBA without a mother or a father and then forgave his father down the line, that man has a story in him that needs to be told. And he should be talking about it a lot more. He needs to put it in a book. And we need to feel him and understand what he went through. So that's where it starts, wherever the pain is or where the happiness is. Everybody doesn't have a painful story. Some people really have good things to talk about. You have to just write it down. Whatever is in your head, if you're saying, I want to write a book, write it. You don't even have to have a title. The title is going to come to you. And I help people with titles too. It was this guy that wanted to write a book. He's a barber from Louisiana and he's a twin. He's actually a barber over on Crenshaw. And he couldn't think of a title for his book. And I said, From LA to LA. And he was like, oh my God, you are so brilliant. From Louisiana to LA, because their barbershop is doing great. Like, that's where all the celebrities go to get their hair cut. And I'm like, it's got to be from LA to LA. And the fact that you guys are twins is the perfect title. So you don't have to worry about a title. Come to me, I'll give you one. Just write the book. Just write it.
Right. And that's also, well, I know you're saying just write it, but okay, so starting off, making that first paragraph, the format. So I believe we had the discussion earlier, when we had first met, formatting the chapters, how long is a chapter? How much, how is that, how do you even, have the beginning, the middle, the end, and all those different things, and in that aspects, what challenges have you faced as a writer and how have you overcome them?
So, okay, let's talk about that, right? Chapters, formats. I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. That does not matter when you're writing a book. You are going to give your book to an editor who is going to fix all of that stuff for you. I have an editor. She's Black. She's great at urban language. You don't have to worry about how long a chapter should be. Sometimes my chapters are only 2 pages long. It depends. It really depends. Let the people that are the publishing company and the editors, let us deal with how long the chapter should be. Let us decide on that. That doesn't have anything to do with the author. So you could put that to rest right then and there. Now, when you talk about, like my strategies, I like to write and get it done. I don't like to spend a whole year writing a book because my inspiration is going to leave. I have a lot to do, right? I'm trying to run this company. I'm the CEO. I'm doing all of these things. My son's in AAU. I got a daughter in college. I don't have time to waste writing a book taking a whole year. So what I do, I write down my ideas, whatever it is, I write it down. And let's just say I've written 5 pages. I'll go back and read those 5 pages again and see where I can elaborate more. So that way I can extend out the chapter. So let's say, for instance, with Steamy Dreams, that book starts off with her sleeping and then her alarm goes off. So there's not a whole lot going on in that first chapter. And it literally is like 2 or 3 pages because that's where it starts. Because it goes beep, beep, beep. Now she got to get up. We're moving on to the next chapter. Now what's going on? Now she's in the kitchen, she's cooking and she's smelling aroma, the bacon. You can smell all of that just by reading the book. So I don't think it's necessary for the author to really worry about the little details. That stuff doesn't matter. Just write the book. That's it.
Okay. I hear you. Just write it.
Just do it. Really, no, seriously, because it's not for you to worry about. You're the author. It's not your job to try to fix every little detail. Spelling errors, that's not your job. That's not for you. That's for me to do. That's for me before it gets to publish, before it goes out for the world to see. My job is to make sure there's no spelling errors. My job is to make sure that it makes sense. My job is to come back to you with feedback and say, hey, you know what? I got this back from the editor. She's making these suggestions for character development. We feel like this character, John, can be doing a little bit more. You only said he walked to the store. How about, what shoes did he have on when he walked to the store? Was he walking with a swag? We would help you develop the characters. You just have to write it.
Right. Right. Okay. And with that, with just writing in and developing your characters and such. Okay. So being a Black female, being raised in Compton, you had your how should I say, had your highs and lows coming up, before you even wrote your first your paragraph, your first couple of pages. How do you balance writing with other aspects of your life, such as your, work and family history? Like do you find yourself adopting things that happen in life and then writing somewhat to that and just changing names, places, dates, or something, or is it made up? How are you how are you going into, I guess, another headspace, another mind space, and then
Yeah.
writing and then having to go back and to deal with actual reality in life and the ups and downs of that?
You got to go in and out, right? Stevie Dreams is something that I came up with all on my own. It there's no characters that I don't know a rapper like that. I don't I don't know a football player like this. Has absolutely nothing at all to do with my personal life. It literally was an idea that was sparked in my brain, and I was like, oh my god, that would be a great story. And I let my family read, the first chapter, and they were like addicted, begging for the rest of it. And I'm like, I haven't written it yet. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna say next. I don't even have a clue. But they kept asking me for it. What's Shantae gonna do? What's happening? What's happening? So that kind of helped me keep going. But when you say how do you balance it, there's no perfect balance. There's no perfect balance. You have to write when you have the time. And you have to make time for it. I think it's one of those things like working out at the gym, right? I I have to make time for that because I hate it. I hate it. Like I I absolutely hate going to the gym. I hate the smell. I don't like the people there, and I try to change my attitude when I go in. I try to smile like I like it. I'm here to work out, but it's so much work. It's so much work. And I'm always thinking I could be writing right now. So I'm on the stair stepper and I'm like, oh my God, I could be writing something about, Shantae. I could be writing my next book, Primo's Choice. I could be doing all of those things. But I think that you have to understand what your goal is. My goal was to lose 15 pounds. I didn't stop working out until I got to that point. So I was like, I don't care what happens. I'm going to keep going until I at least drop 15 pounds. If I could do 20, great, but I got to do at least 15. So I think that setting your goals is something that you're going to have to do if you really want to get the book completed. So that would be whatever your time space is. Wake up early in the morning, set the alarm for 5 a.m. I have to tell my son this. He's a basketball player and he's pretty good, but his shot is off. And he was always good with his shot. It was something that came natural to him. He never had a problem. He never had to learn how to do it. He could just shoot the ball and get it in there. Now he's picking up so many other aspects of the basketball game that the shot is now on the back burner because now he's great defensively. So he's struggling with this shot. But I told him, you got to put up 1,000 shots a day. Get up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, get out there, shoot the ball. So if it's something that you want done, you have to set the goal. If evening time is your free time, then you got to set it for 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and dedicate. I want to say an hour, but I want to say for a beginner, put in 30 minutes in the beginning and watch that 30 minutes. You're going to be so excited about writing. That 30 minutes is going to turn into an hour. That hour is going to turn into 2 hours. You're going to find yourself turning off your phone, making people not disturb you. Hey, I'm writing right now. The texting is going to get ignored because you're going to be so excited that you're there. You're making your way to your goal. That's it.
Okay. All right. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. So this is, as I say, I write, I draw, I do all that type of stuff. And, So for me so a lot of questions I'm asking you is more, me. I always look for motivation and all that type of stuff, and inspiration, and these podcasts and stuff, and how I can do better in the things that I pursue in life. But when it comes to well, let me just ask this question. Well, how do you develop your characters and make them feel real to the readers?
The character development for me, I try to think of them. What would I do in this situation? If this was a real situation, what would I do? Or if I knew somebody that was similar to that person, what if that person was like this, but he went all the way off the edge? For instance, let's just say my stepdad, he had a little bit of a drinking problem. He had a drinking problem. He had a drinking problem. So, but he was a good guy, right? He wasn't all bad. He always looked out for me. He always made sure I was safe, but he was a good guy. So then I would say, okay, what if this guy with this drinking problem went all the way bad? What if he wasn't the nice guy? What if this happened? What if he was put in a situation where he had to protect his family? What if he was putting it, I play scenarios over and over and over in my head until something sounds right. Sometimes I'll even write it all out as that. And if I don't like it, nope, okay, trash. You ball it up, put it in the trash. I don't like the way that's going. Let's get to, maybe he is the good guy. Let's try that. I think that you just have to keep exploring different avenues until it feels real to you. You're the author, right? You have to know what is going to come across as strength. If it's boring to you, it's going to be boring to them. So it has to be something that excites the reader. It has to be something that they can relate to. The characters have to be relatable, and I think that's the reason why I write a lot of urban stuff, because I don't know what it's like to be a rich white woman growing up in Brentwood. I can't write that character. I don't know who she is, and I think if I attempted, she would be very cliche, and I don't think that's right. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. So I'm going to stick to the characters that I know that are a possibility and how they can grow and jump off the page. So that's it.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, that's not it. There's more
Oh,
to it. No.
my bad. My
Okay. No, this man. So, okay. So let me ask you this, because you are, the publishing house too, also, right? So Moore's Publishing House. So how do you handle, and you're the author. So how do you handle the business side of being an author, such as marketing and promotions?
Oh my goodness. You know what? That's another thing that I hate, right? Like it's fun to talk about yourself and we can talk about how great we are. We can talk about the wonderful things we're doing. It's not that part. It's not that I don't want to talk about myself. It's not that. It's just that I don't like overselling myself. The braggadocious part, I know that I can do it, but I'm like, it's really nothing to talk about, right? Like it is in a general aspect. But I'm like, I do this every day. Like I'm not out there getting Nobel Peace Prizes because I'm an author. So I think that's the hardest part for me when it comes to actual marketing. I have to wake up in the morning and figure out, what am I going to post today? What am I going to post on Instagram? So you know what? And I'm going to be honest. I rely on Chat GPT. I don't care what people say. I don't care how mad they get at me. But I ask Chat, what do you think I should post today? What time should I post? Is it good to post at 9 o'clock? Like, where do you think my audience is right now? I rely on that. And I know that that's not, the greatest tool to get all of your ideas out there, but that's really the least thing that I like to work on, and I know that it matters. I know that it matters. I could have way more likes on Instagram. I could have way more followers if I dedicated more time to marketing, but I don't really like doing it, and I wish somebody would just do it for me.
I heard that. I heard that.
Right?
Now there's something that you had said a little while ago, a couple of questions ago. Let me see, how should I say this? Okay, so when it comes to writing, um, how important is what's the word? Literature. Your spelling, the way you're talking. As far as in how should I say, society in the acceptance of your words. You know what I mean? Okay, so we're from you say you're L.A. area. You know what I mean? More of a ghetto terminology, and how does that affect? Is that a handicap, or how does that? I guess it's the same word. How does it affect the selling of your book, or the descriptions that you use? You know what I mean, in your writing, because I've read 1,000 books, I guess through life, you know what I mean, and they're all worded differently to get a different kind of message across. So you know what I mean, in your writing, does your wordplay give or take away from, I guess, the message you're trying to say, or the effectiveness of what you're writing? And this is I mean, we know you're successful right now, but think of this question in general, for anybody else who's thinking of it as right now to write also.
So my answer to that is that you have an audience, right? Everybody has an audience. Nobody that is reading, I don't know, 50 Shades of Grey is reading my books. They're not. I don't like 50 Shades of Grey. I tried to read it and it was just like, and it's all urban, right? Not urban, it's all romance. That's not my book. There's so many different types of romance books out there. There's cowboy romance, there's vampire romance, there's all kind of different genres out there. Your audience will understand you. You don't have to worry about trying to fit into somebody else's world. Your audience will find you. And there's sci-fi, there's robot audiences, there's so many different kind of books out there that people relate to and you wouldn't think so. And to me the biggest one is Star Wars. I don't, and I know that it's a movie and I think there's a few books. I haven't read them, so forgive me, Star Wars people. But I don't know if there's books or not. But I'm just saying that audience, I don't understand how they captivated so many people with, the guy talking backwards and then, these fake swords. Like I don't understand it because there's adult and children. There's adults and children that like this. The age is just like it doesn't stop for Star Wars people, right? So it doesn't matter. You speak the way that you speak, and the people will find you. You just have to be true. You have to be authentic. You don't want to fake it, right? You don't want to, pretend to be somebody else in your work because the audience is going to see right through it. They're going to see it. They're going to be like, oh, this person is trying to sound like, author Joe Jackson from whatever. You know what I mean? You want to be true and authentic to who you are, and you'll find those people. You're going to attract the audience. They're going to come straight to you.
Okay. Okay. I have about one more question. I'm going to pass it over to Keith, and that is, can you share with us a favorite quote or a piece of advice that has helped you in your writing journey?
There's a lot. I have this book on my nightstand by Maya Angelou, and I read little quotes from her every morning. I don't have them memorized, but I will say this, the authenticity, the advice that I would give to anybody else is, and it's going to sound so cliche, but you really got to be who you are. Identifying yourself, knowing who you are, knowing your self worth, knowing that you were created by the creator, knowing that you have a purpose on this planet, on this earth, you have something to do. That's the greatest advice I can give to anybody because you feel it in your soul. From little kid, you were here to do something. And when you find your purpose, you have to live it out. The only way you are ever going to be successful is to be authentic and be yourself and live your purpose. And I'll say this, and I'll just make it real quick. For a long time, I was working at these jobs and I was pretty successful at it, but I hated it. The whole time I was there, they would set goals, I would blow them out the water. They set a goal, I blow it out the water. Then they give me somebody else's work to do. I blow that out the water. And I was just like, I'm so unfulfilled here. While I was at work, I was thinking about so many other things I could have been doing. I could have wrote a book by now. I could have had this book finished. I could have written 5 books by now. If you have thoughts like that going through your mind when you're working at somebody else's place of employment, you got to stop. That's not for you. And some people are workers, right? Some people were born to be workers. And if that's you, hey, no, hey, I don't have a problem with it. Get up, go to work, love it. I have family members that are workers. That's what they were born to do. Get up, go to work, get a job, 40, 50, 60 years, retire. And they love it. They love that life. But if that is not you, you are always going to be from job to job. I had so many of those jobs, it wasn't even funny. And I was always the problem, right? I would do great in my work, but then I was always a problem because I was unhappy. And I didn't think I was a problem at the time. But when I look back at it, I'm like, yeah, I didn't want to be there. I was the problem. I was the problem. So, my advice to anybody out there, whether it's writing a book, whether it's, I don't know, becoming self employed CEO, no matter what it is that you're doing, my recommendation is to do it. Do it. And I know finances come into play, but I'm going to say this. I quit my job. I was working at UCR, UC Riverside. I had a good job. And I was sitting there on LinkedIn looking for another job at my job. I'm looking for another job at my job because I hated my job. And that wasn't the first time I felt like that. Every job I thought that I had, and I was like, oh, this is a good place. It's a good job. I finally got the job that I really, really want. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to retire. I get there. I hate the job. So my advice is that if you're one of those people and you feel like if you quit the job, that you're not going to be able to make it, finances isn't going to work, I'm gonna tell you right now, I did it. I quit. I had a mortgage, I had car, and I had just got a car payment, insurance, daughter going to college, son playing basketball. I had to really think about what I was gonna do. And the whole process just came to me. I wrote it all down. I wrote down my goals, what I wanted, and how I was gonna achieve them. So I'm not saying quit your job today and go chase your dreams. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is plan it out. Have a plan. Figure it out. If you got some 401k, you got some money saved up, unemployment, anything that you feel like that you can live off of to make your dreams happen, do it.
Okay. That sounds like you made a vision board or something, though. You manifested
Oh, I
something.
absolutely manifested wealth as a Black woman. That's exactly what I did. I did.
Can-
Look,
I
Man.
think from what I'm hearing and just the last part of what you said is kind of like a feeling that I've had, and I think it's something a lot of people have is if you are an entrepreneur and you get the bug of the entrepreneur spirit, it beats at you every single day, and you can have all of the success in your job and all these different places, but you will sit there and you'll be thinking about something else you want to do because you're tired of doing it for these people. And I
that's
think
it.
that is something that you said that's really great that people need to be able to understand. So,
Yes.
you know what, guys, we're going to be right back. We're going to take a really good look at these books, talk about them, and you know what? We're going to see you on the other side.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Um, I want to go ahead and talk about all of my books today. I have quite a few. I'm going to spend some time discussing how to become an author. So basically, this book right here, it's a free guide. This is what I offer to any of my authors that book any consultations or any authors that I'm speaking with. I always give them a free guide. And in here, it like it says, write and publish your story as a woman who overcame. Now, it says a woman because I can only tell my point of view, right? I can only discuss or I can only talk about from my position. So in this book, it's 5 steps. It's a free book. It's 5 steps on how to turn your pain into a powerful book. And we've all been through something, and I've used this analogy quite a few times. I think that we all need to start writing more of our own stories. I use the Bible as a reference mainly because there's so much inspiration in the Bible. The Bible is there for us to go to when we need help, when we're going through struggles, when we have a problem. We have a go-to guide that a lot of people go to for inspiration. I know for me, Psalms is like my favorite chapter in the Bible. It really gets me through a lot of things. So I think that we all should be writing our own stories. I think that women in particular, because I notice in the African American community, we hold back a lot, right? So there's all of this trauma, all of this danger, all of these horrible things that's embedded in our DNA. And it seems that we've been bred and taught not to talk about these things, all of the horrible things. And then it just continues to repeat, 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 repeat. So my goal with this free guide is for women to start talking about things that they've been through, and then they can help other people overcome. That's the only way we can get through it. And that's why the Bible is such a success. I mean, it's a book, right? Like and I don't want to say just a book, but I'm just saying it's just a book, but it's a book with all of these inspirational testimonials about what people have been through and how they got through it. We talk about Isaac, Jacob, John the Baptist. Like, we talk about all of these people that had these struggles. Well, we have them too. And why is it that there hasn't been another one created similar to that with some overcoming stories that everybody's willing to read? I know that there's some stuff out there that people will read, but I'm talking about, why isn't there another book like the Bible that has inspirational stories in it where everybody can quote a chapter from it? You can ask any person off the street, they can remember John 3:16, but we can't go back to our family members and say, oh, in my family book, there's, I don't know, Tanisha 227. We don't have those in our family. So I think that starting with women, because we seem to hold in the trauma and it just, embeds and balls up and blows up into something major. I think that's the inspiration behind this one. Write and publish your story as a woman who overcame. I just feel like all women need to tell their stories. Okay, so that's pretty much it with that one in a nutshell. Let's move on. Let's get on to Sis, with all due respect, shut up and listen. Oh my God, I just I love talking about this book. And it's really good. Like, I wrote this book mainly because I was going through a divorce, right? So let me just say that part. I was going through a divorce, or I had been gone through a divorce. I was still through the process of child custody and court battles and all of that shenanigans. So this book is a product of that. I learned so much with learning how to be quiet, learning how when not to speak, learning how powerful silence can be. Silence is so powerful. I don't even know if we as women really understand how powerful that is. I think men get it. I think men get it. They know when to shut up. And sometimes they might say the wrong thing, but if you pay attention to what they're saying, it's a key element in it. And I think that as women, we need to learn how to shut up and listen. Like, seriously, we need to be able to take a step back and say, hey, you know what? Let me be quiet for a minute and listen to what he's saying. So that's basically what this book is about. It's more relationship based. I kind of talk about how we need to learn how to not only just be quiet, but when we are speaking, learn how to speak with respect. Don't be so hard. And I had to learn that from my son, right? My son is 14 years old now, but when he was younger, 9, 10 years old, he would just ask me, like, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I'm not yelling, but I was, but me being who I am, I think I project a lot, right? Like, I have to be able to speak in front of audiences. I have to be able to be heard. So I think sometimes I can come across that way. So when I come home, I got to remember, okay, I'm talking to my kid. I'm not in a room full of CEOs. I'm not in a room full of, powerful people where I have to look so big and strong all the time. I can kind of relax and be like, okay, I'm talking to my son. So that's pretty much what Sis, with all due respect, shut up and listen is about. And again, it's my favorite. I really wish, like, and I'm gonna say this, it's not my bestseller, and I totally wish it was, because this book has so much knowledge and so much information from things that I've pulled from myself and what I've learned. So pretty much that's it. Sis, with all due respect, shut up and listen. It's a good book. It does sell, but it's not my best seller, and I have to admit that to you guys. All right, so let's move on. How about we do this? Let's talk about my bestseller, Steamy Dreams. Y'all don't even understand. This book, people go crazy for this. People go crazy for this. So, what Steamy Dreams is about this girl, Shantae, who's caught up in a love triangle with a football player, a rapper, and her husband who is stuck in the middle. That's Michael. Michael is like, he's a square, right? Like she went to college with him. They graduated together. He did this great romantic proposal at their graduation. I mean, it was beautiful. That's who she loves and who her heart is really with. But she starts having these fantasies and these dreams about these other two guys. And then the dreams start coming true, right? So that's the part with Shantae, because she's caught up in this thing where she knows that these things are going to happen, but she has absolutely no control over it. It's almost like she's doomed no matter what she does. She's trying not to, but it happens anyway. So that's Steamy Dreams. And Steamy Dreams is a part of a duel right now. There's two books. There's Steamy Dreams 1 and there's Steamy Dreams 2. Okay, Steamy Dreams 2 will be released on July 2nd. That is the official release date. But I currently have it listed now where you can download your e-copy for $12.99. So that's Steamy Dreams 2. And they are both cliffhangers. Both books are cliffhangers. They will leave you on the edge of your seat. I don't want to talk too much about these books because it will be a dead giveaway and you would be disappointed. So I don't want to oversell it. I don't want to oversell it by telling you exactly what's going to happen in these books. But if you read the reviews on this, you wouldn't be disappointed. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to one right now. So this is one of the reviews right here. This is from Steamy Dreams. Okay, jaw dropping. I bought this book from infamous Miss T Lane herself at the music festival, and this was one of the women that came over to me, and she had to tell me how great the book was. So if you want to know the reviews on it, check it out on Amazon. Okay, so that's Steamy Dreams 1, Steamy Dreams 2. Now let's get to secrets the finance industry don't want you to know about. Now, this book is very, very good when it comes to knowledge. This book has a wealth of information. Personally, I've been in finance for about 20 years. I worked at Toyota and Lexus Financial, and I was in the collections department. I was a manager at the collections department, and I learned so much when it came to debt, being in debt, credit. This book helped me help my daughter obtain a 700 FICO score when she turned 18. So automatically, when she turned 18, she had an American Express card. I couldn't even do that for myself. Even with all this stuff that I knew, I couldn't do that myself, mainly because everything wasn't brand new for me. She was fresh out the gate, ready to go. So in this book, I'm teaching you how to do just that, how to, help anyone else that's kind of struggling with their credit, or even your kids, basically help your kids achieve those 700, 800 FICO scores that seem almost impossible for a lot of African American people. Also, I give tips on how to keep your items. Like sometimes we get caught up in the fact that we're past due. I'm not embarrassed about it. It's happened to me before. I've been past due. I had to file bankruptcy. I went through a divorce, couldn't afford my lifestyle. So I had to reduce a lot. And I had to rely on my knowledge from being in collections that, I don't necessarily have to give up everything, right? There's options. You can get deferments, extensions, due date changes. All you have to do is keep in contact with your finance company for your car, your mortgage, all of those things. I think that we as African Americans, we get to the point like, I can't pay for it. I don't want to keep it here, give it back to them. I had a lot of customers call in and do what we would call a voluntary surrender for a vehicle. So they would call in and say, hey, you know what? I can't afford this. Come get the car. You don't want to do that. You can actually keep it for maybe about 3 months until you get back on your feet without even making a payment. And I think people really don't understand that part. Those are the secrets that I think in our African American community that we really, really don't know about. There's options to filing bankruptcy. I handled my bankruptcy all by myself when I had to file it. I did it all on my own. I didn't hire an attorney because it was unnecessary. I already knew I couldn't afford my bills. Who else to tell the judge that than me? The only thing that was very important was getting my paperwork. And all I did was download a template, hit all my marks, submitted it, boom, and the judge approved it. So I think this book right here will give African American Black people, this will give us a lot of insight into how we can hold on to our belongings. And and keep our things instead of just giving it to the bank and giving up on life, period. We need our cars, we need our houses, we need our apartments, we need those things. We don't have to just give everything up just because the finance company is calling every day, every 3, 4, 5 times a day. You don't have to do that. So that's what this book is about. Secrets the finance industry don't want you to know about. $29.99. It is a hard copy. I don't have this one on soft copy. Sorry. But it's a very good book. And I'm telling you, it's a very good investment. It's stuff in this book that most people aren't going to tell you about. Okay. So that's secrets the finance industry don't want you to know about. Okay, let's move right along here. Oh, you know what? This one is pretty good too. This is the book starter kit, right? It's 5 essential resources for aspiring authors. So I basically go into a few things to help you get started. So if you got any type of writer's block, you just don't know really what to do, how to get started, this is going to help you get there. You want to basically challenge yourself. You want to clarify your message. You want to outline your chapters. And the crazy part about it is that I put this in my book because people need it, right? People need outlines. I don't. I don't write from an outline. I can't do it. It actually just drives me crazy. The only reason why I put it on here is because I know that a lot of people are not like me. I'm a backwards kind of thinker, right? Like if you give me a problem, I can definitely give you the question on how you arrive there. So I'm probably a little bit dyslexic. I'm just not dyslexic when reading, but I think everything else in my life, I start from the back and then I work towards the front. So that's the only reason why I don't use an outline. But outlines are definitely very good for writing. Okay. Also, turn your story into life changing lessons. Definitely that. Brainstorm, that's in there. And stay in focus with author affirmations. I love affirmations. I love affirmations. When I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I do. I'm a millionaire. Like I'm successful. I'm a great CEO. I'm a great mom. Like I start with affirmations and I end my day with affirmations. So that's definitely going to be something that is going to help if you need some help to get started writing your book. All right. All right. Let's go on from there. So we did the book starter kit. We did secrets. You don't want to, the secrets, the finance industry don't want you to know about. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. Okay, here's one of my most recent ones. And I love this book because we were just talking about affirmations, right? When we were talking about this, we were just talking about positive affirmations. This right here, Manifesting Wealth as a Black Woman, a journal and workbook to build financial abundance. This book is so good. And I promise you, this is an investment that you will not regret. This is basically my life on how I became who I am today. I was going through a lot of terrible moments in my life, lost custody of my kids, got them back and forth, all of those kind of things, right? This If I had this book when I was going through those things, it would have made my life so much easier. There's a lot of positive affirmations here. I put journals, I put the whole workbook, I put everything in here so that way you can remind yourself on what it is that you're doing. Goal setting, that's in here. A 30-day tracker, that's in here. That kind of reminds you every day. Hey, did you do this? Hey, did you tell yourself you're beautiful? Hey, did you put stickers on your mirror? All of those kind of things. That's everything that's in this book. And it's more than just about making money. Wealth is way more than that. Wealth is a mindset. First, in order to be wealthy, we have to have it here first. There's no way that you're going to gain $1 million, $1 billion, a billionaire if you don't think that you deserve it or that it belongs to you. You have to know that you're worth it. And that starts again with the mindset. This book right here teaches you to write down your goals, teaches you to write down different things so that way you can, again, stay on track with whatever it is you're trying to manifest. So, Manifesting Wealth as a Black Woman, journal and workbook to build financial abundance. And everything in this book is how I got here, right? Okay, so let's get back. All right, Manifesting Wealth as a Black Woman. Y'all don't want to miss that one. Okay, and when we talked about Steamy Dreams. So Steamy Dreams 2 available July 2nd. It is available now for download, but the official paperback book will be available on July 2nd. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys so far. But all of these books are near and dear to my heart. I love all of them. It's so hard for me to choose just one, but I think you guys can kind of tell in my personality how I lit up when I started talking about Sit, Shut Up, and Listen because, like I said, it helped me get through so much. It's basically me telling my story right as I was finishing up going through it. And how I should have behaved, things that I should have said in court, things that I know would have helped me and helped my situation if I was just quiet about a lot of it. And again, like I said, that silence is power. And that's something that we really, really have to learn. And that's it. That's all I got. Morris Publishing House, Miss T Lane. Check it out.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming back, man. If you guys seen all of those books and seen exactly the work that she's been putting out there, I'm telling you, I'm just amazed by what I've seen so far. It's just amazing. Miss T Lane is out there publishing books and writing books and helping people do books and got a story like a book. Oh my gosh, she's out there, and I look forward to all you guys going and getting her books and going online and buying them. So let's just get right back into this podcast. We're back on right now. You know what? I kind of like think about the information that you were providing. A lot of it in your book is relevant to today. Relationships and kids and people wanting to learn how to write books and do all of that. Talk a little bit about just the goal of all these books you have out there. What are you trying? You have certain ones that you like the most, or what are you promoting right now?
Well, the in terms of promotion, my main book that I just released, Steamy Dreams. That one is the one that I'm, doing a lot of marketing for right now. But when you say, what's my goal? My goal is to find other people that want to write their books. And that's really it, especially in the African American community. I think if we had more material that we could relate to, then we would read more, because most people be like, I don't want to read. I've had people that are in prison read my book that don't read. They'd say, T, I don't even read, but I read your book. You know what I mean? That's my goal is to reach those people because the knowledge is in books. When I was going through my court case, I had to buy these legalese books and learn all of this legalese language and I was like, man, I'm like, this is so hard to understand. If we have more books that we could understand and we could relate to, we would read more. It's just that the material that's out there is so geared towards people that are not like us, not like us, people that are not like us. Kendrick Lamar said it right. They're not like us. So how can we go to Barnes and Noble and pick up a romance book or pick up, you know, a book where we're trying to learn a legal language that is so foreign to us from people and that are for the people that are writing it is also foreign to us. We can't even get the knowledge. I had to pray. I had really had to pray and ask God to show me what these books were saying because it was so hard to understand. So my goal as a CEO, publisher, author, life coach, author coach, all of those things. My goal is to make sure that there's material out there that we as urban African Americans, Black Americans won't be afraid to pick up a book and feel like we're too stupid to read it. Because that's really what it is. We feel like we're not smart enough. We feel like we're not educated enough. We feel like books aren't for us because there's no book out there that we can really relate to. And there's some, but we need to make that bigger. So that's why Morris Publishing House exists.
I like what you're saying there because you're talking about the black story and some the books that you're writing, but you're also talking about the black history, which is a part of our um, you know one thing, slavery and all these different things they gave us books, and they were afraid of us having those books because we were going to learn something. And even though the languages was built or talked about in a white way, they're still now trying to take books away from
Yep.
schools and education, black books and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about, what you think about that. How do you process the fact that yes, you're talking about our community, you're writing these black stories, but our society is trying to eliminate black culture in books and giving them to our young kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the part. That's why we, as the older African American community, we have to understand what's happening in our schools. If they're not going to give us the books, then we need to go get them on our own. I think that's a lot of our issues in the black community is that we're always, let me correct that. Sometimes we're waiting on handouts. I won't say always, but sometimes we're waiting on the information to be passed to us. We got to go get it because sometimes the information that they give us is the wrong information. And a lot of times what they give us is the wrong information. It's manipulated, it's diluted, it's in a different voice than what it should be. Let me say this, as a writer, as when I started writing, I started to understand how powerful my pen was. And I started to realize that I could create these stories and people would read it. And if I wasn't careful as the author, this could be somebody's truth. This could become true to somebody if I don't label it as fiction. But how about I write my story and I lie about the whole story? Who's going to correct me? Who's going to come back and say, Tanisha, that didn't happen? What, my friends, my family? Most of my family is dead. Who's going to come back and say it never happened? So that's where we have to be careful when we're talking about the material that they're giving us. And this is why our stories have to be written by us. And I've been stressing that for so long. I've been saying it for so many years. We have to write our own stories because if you let them do it, it's not going to be the truth. And we understand what that means when it comes to slavery. But who's telling us the stories about slavery? I'm not going to say it didn't happen the way that it happened, but who's telling those stories? Because I want to know more about Nat Turner. I want to know more about, because he wasn't the only one. Couldn't have been. Couldn't have been. And then we start finding these buried stories about some other Black people that had revolts. How come that's not the main topic when it comes to slavery? Because there had to be so many more than just Harriet Tubman. There could not have been she couldn't have done it on her own. There's no way. There's somebody else. There's somebody, I want to know those stories. And the reason why is because nobody's written it, nobody's talking about it. Some white person found some interest in Harriet Tubman and was like, I can make some money off this story. There she was produced.
I think you're absolutely right because some of it is, they're lying to create these stories and books, and then our kids are following that lie and taking it as truth, which is not, it's not factual. It's not factual in what they're saying and doing, and that's a hard part to do now because, and before it was just a lot of information out there for us to grab, but now it's less and less and less. Let me ask you this: do you or would you? I guess this would be how I would say it. What do you think about a black library? What about having our own black library? How would you think of that? Being an author and a writer, would that be something you think that we should start thinking about creating in our community? A black library.
Yes. Yes. Like I love that. Like that you just made my heart smile. The reason why we need that because we need real cultural studies. We need to really understand who we are. I mean, we're more than rappers. We're more than and these things are not all bad, right? But we're bigger than a ball. We're bigger than all of those things. But when you hear other cultures talk about us, and I'm gonna use my son as a reference, we moved to an area where we're a small percentage here. And he was playing baseball, and all the kids were asking him, "Can you run fast? I bet he's fast." Go and they made him a pinch hitter, but I mean, he was fast, but he was just faster than them. He wasn't that you put him out there with those other kids in Compton, they're gonna be smoking him. They're gonna be smoking him. He was just faster than them. That's it. So I'm just saying, in general, we need our own stuff. We need to be able to tell our own stories so that way they come directly from us. The libraries would be great. We won't be afraid to walk in and feel intimidated by some books with these crazy words that nobody can pronounce but other people. When I was reading growing up, I used to subscribe to Vibe magazine. Okay, now that was supposed to be the black magazine. Quincy Jones was I believe, the editor or owner, whatever part he played in it. And the journalists were also black, but they were using this language that I couldn't understand, and I didn't get who they were writing to. So I wrote a letter to them. I'm like, hey, y'all need to put me on. I'm 16 years old. I'm a writer. I don't understand what you're talking about, but I'm your audience. Why are you guys writing to? Why I have to have a dictionary next to me? Just tell me what you're saying. And guess what Quincy Jones did? He went on to create Moesha, where Moesha worked as a teenager at what? Vibe magazine. That was me. That was my story. They stole it from me. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones, but they stole it from me.
Wow, just the idea that you mad at Quincy Jones for stealing your story.
Yes, I'm mad at him. Rest in peace. Yes, I'm mad. Before he died, I was very angry, and I'm like, for Quincy Jones, he stole my story and put it on Moesha. Now I gotta be nice.
They was getting them stories and that inspiration from somewhere, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess this goes right into my last question. It goes into my last question here, and that is your mental health, man. Talk to me a little bit about the mental health portion that you have to deal with your son, basketball, trying to write the books and all this stuff in your head. Let us know if this is the time. Do you need that help?
I meditate a lot, a lot. But I think that's just a part of the me time, right? Like they say that you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. So first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I meditate. My son knows he can be up moving around. He'll peek in my room. He see me meditating. He's not bothering me. He's not talking to me. My daughter, she's in college. She doesn't call or text until after a certain time. They know what I'm doing. I need that peace in my life in order to deal with everything that I deal with on a daily basis. Building this business, making it a multi-million-dollar business is not easy. I have things on my mind all day, 24/7, things going through my mind right now. How am I going to make it better? So the meditation comes into play. I meditate at night before I go to bed. I think about the 3 things that went well. Sometimes I'll even write it down. If I'm having trouble remembering, I'll try to go through my entire day and just remember the things that went well, because there are bad days. There are days where I don't get a response from my emails, when I'm reaching out to CEOs, when I'm reaching out to marketing companies, when I'm reaching out to people that I feel like should have an immediate response. There are those days. But the mental health portion comes in when I think about, at the end of the day, what did I do well? Even if I had a bad day and if I'm having trouble coming up with those 3 things, I think about my life. I think about where I am today. I think about how I got here. I think about the things that I'm blessed with now. And if I hadn't have done, made the decisions that I made early on, I wouldn't have what I have today. So every day is being grateful. That's how I keep my mind strong, and that's how I keep going.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I think that helps a lot of people to get themselves together as well. I want to pass it off to Razak for a few questions, and then we'll close.
All right. Hey, man, you were saying a lot of good things. I particularly like, just like Keith had mentioned, having a Black library, and it's more so even when we're going to school, the history that we're learning as far as people of color, African Americans, Blacks, urban society, our whole culture, our whole history, it was told from somebody else's perspective, and who knows, if they were being prejudiced, or if they only wanted to highlight, the slavery aspects of it. They made it seem like, we just, I don't know, and then you might, as you would say, dig into the research yourself and find out that, there were so many people of color in history who were the inventors of so many products and merchandise and all these different things that they don't tell us that. You know, why isn't that part of the history books that they tell us? You know, we're hearing about this guy chopping down a tree, and you know, this guy who came on a boat and massacred, you know, the Indians. About, I found this place, but there's people already here. What do you mean you found it? It was already here. You know what I mean? You know, you have different things of that thing where they twist it. You know what I mean? And so with that, I would have to say, how do you what's the right question I was trying to ask? So in your writings, what message are you delivering to the audience? You know, what educational or information do you write about, I guess, or is there, because I know you have your romance novels, and then you have other instructional, I guess I should say, type of things. You know, so how do you pick between the two, and what are the, I don't know really. I think I'm saying all this wrong. We might have to
I
edit
understand.
all this. We got to edit all this out. But let me see. It says, what, you know, like what is the message in your books that you're trying to come across? What do you want people to walk away with knowing or feeling different about after reading your books?
So my answer to that is that they should walk away empowered, right? So since there's two aspects of me, because I do the self-help and I do the romance, right? So if I'm writing a self-help book or I'm publishing a self-help book, my goal is to empower. We have to know how to do things on our own. We have to learn. And it's something that I had to learn personally as being a divorcee. You know, I didn't have to take the trash out when I was married. I didn't have to drive a lot of places. So when I got divorced, I had to learn so many different things about being on my own. And I think that's the part with Black America, trying to get away from the I guess what they've taught us, you know, or the way they've taught us, or the way they told us how life is supposed to be. You know, we already understand stripping us of our culture, all of those things, but we need to be empowered on our own, and we can do it. We can do it. There's so many things that I went through, and I can't believe that I did it. Self-representing myself in court, and then you know, when I was being represented, I was losing. And once I started representing myself, I started winning. And I'm like, hey, there's something to this. They tell you not to be self represented for a reason, because they don't want you to win. They want you to continue to fight over and over and over again, because the entire system is making money, not just the attorneys. The Title 4D, the judges are getting kickbacks every time you go to court. Title 4D, they get paid for it. So there's things that we can do if we would just teach ourselves. DIY, do it yourself. I'm a big fan of doing it yourself until you can't, right? Until you can't do it, until you know, hey, you know what, this is beyond my expertise. Let me find an expert in this area that I can call on that maybe is a little bit more knowledgeable than I am in this area. And hopefully that's a Black person. And I think that the Black Panther community was trying to do that. That's why they had lawyers. That's why there were so many educated doctors. There were people that were educated. They could go to somebody else as reference. And I think that's what we're lacking now, because we don't reference each other. We go to them for the answers. And I think that's our biggest hang up. I'm done with attorneys. I would never, even when I did my bankruptcy, did it myself. It was very easy. It's nothing difficult about it at all. Not at all. You just have to have the right resources and understand what you're doing. So my goal is to empower the community. We got to empower ourselves. So anything I write, all of my books are just that, teaching you how to empower yourself.
Okay. Okay. I'm not too sure if Keith had mentioned this before, but what do you think is the most important skill for a writer to have, and how do you work on improving it? And this is considering the advice that you would give to others who are listening right now.
The biggest skill that you have to have is the idea in mind and the goal, the tenacity. The tenacity. You have to really want to do it. You can't, you know, you can't halfway do this. You can't BS your way through it. If you want to be an author, you want to be successful, or you want to write a book for your family because there's things going on throughout the history in your family that's never been talked about. Whatever the book is, whatever the reason is, you have to remember that every single day you get up to write. You have to remember what the goal is. And the authors that I like are the ones that are tenacious. Even I don't care if the material isn't great yet. We'll make it great together. Like I said, I'm an author coach. I can help you be great. That's me. That's me. That's exactly what I do. You give me a little portion of your life, I can paint it into a masterpiece. It doesn't have to be great from you. I can help you. I can do ghostwriting, all of those things. But you have to be tenacious. You have to want it. And I think that's in everything, in sports. And I think anybody that's going to help somebody else, they have to see that fire inside of you. And I'm going to say this and just reference my son one more time because I spend a lot of time with him in this basketball stuff. And there's so many lessons that he's learned in it, growing through it. Um, Early on, he said he wanted to play, right? But then when it started getting tough, I could see that he was getting lazy. He wasn't really doing all of the work that he needed to get to be great. So I told him, I said, if you're not going to put in the work, I'm not going to be coming to the game. So I stopped going. I had already paid for the season. I stopped showing up to the games. And it didn't make him feel good, but it definitely changed his work ethic because he wanted me there. And not just that, he wanted the highlights. He wanted to be great. He wanted to prove not only to me but to himself that he could do it. So I think that's the part of it. When you see somebody that really has a fire and a desire and they really want it, man, I'm putty in your hands. I'll be answering. Oh, you ready? Okay, let's go. I'm gonna be on the phone with you. We're gonna be that. Those are the people. Those are the authors that I like to work with. The tenacity, the ones that are ready to get there and they got the dog in them and they're ready to go.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Let me ask you this, and then I guess we'll go into the closing. Okay, so and this is something I kind of this is kind of more of a question I have more so for the audience or anybody, but I guess we would all have the same thing. So, but we're gonna scratch that out. Okay, but let me see. Okay, how do you approach the use of sensitive or triggering content in your writing and ensure that it is handled appropriately?
Disclosures. We have to put disclosures. So the book that I referenced earlier, Flight of Fate by Leo Brooks. He's a young author that we're working with. He's 14 years old, and he wrote this book about human trafficking. And he's only 14 years old, and it's not explicit content. There's no explicit content in the book at all, but it's about human trafficking and this girl that is trying to get out of a bad situation, and an adult male, is trying to help her out. So with that entire book right there, there's a hotline in the back that we put in the book. If you know anybody or if you yourself have been trafficked or are a victim of this, then we put the disclosure in the back of the book to say that here's a helpline. I should have had the number, but I don't have the number right now. But there's a number in the back of the book where it says here you can get help. I think that those type of resources are very important. And even just the title of the book, Flight or Fate, in the description, we describe everything that's happening inside of that book. So things that are sensitive, we make sure that we put it out there so people understand what they're reading. Everybody may not be ready to read that type of material. I mean, it's a real thing, right? These things are really happening in life, and some people they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it. So to prevent those people that are sensitive to that type of information, we make sure that we put it in the description exactly what these books are about. And if it's one of those topics where people are being harmed, domestic violence, anything like that, we always put a disclosure in the back of the book where they can get help and get assistance.
Okay. Let me ask you one quick question, and I'll pass it back to Keith, and we'll start the closing. Um, uh, what would you say, or I don't think we asked you about mentors or role models, as in authors or, people who gave you of influence or knowledge or direction as you started your writing. Is there anybody that you would mention? I know you Who did you mention? You mentioned someone earlier, but
Maya Angelou. You
quickly,
mentioned Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou. You mentioned her, but as far as like a person who was like, hey, directing you or something like that, or you was gain inspiration from, and how did they continue to either affect you or as far as directing your path since the time that you got the knowledge till now?
Early on, I'll say, and she's not an author, but I just love what she did with her book club, Oprah. Now, this is early on, right? This is early Oprah. I can't say I'm a huge fan of her now. I'm not going to speak any ill words of anybody, but I think she's done great with reaching so many different people. I mean, not just Black people. She's been able to cross over and she's been able to communicate even in her own language, being Black. You know, I think that she speaks proper, but she also has an urban way about her, and they've accepted her for it. But I have to say, Oprah. Even my grandfather, when I was growing up, he suggested that I write a letter to her, and I wrote it, but I never mailed it off. But he was definitely telling me to get her attention. She's the one. If that's who you want to be, you want to be an author, you want to write these books. Well, Oprah got a book club. Why don't you write to her? And I was just too young minded. I was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 at the time. I wasn't ready for all of that and I think that was the part of it that I knew it would work. That was the scary part, is that I did believe him. I did believe that it could work. But at that time, I wasn't ready. So I'm glad it all worked out the way that it did. I have much more wisdom now. I think early on, I knew that I had this talent and I wasn't living my life the way it should have been, because I was afraid of the light that it was going to shine on my life. And I really wasn't ready for the world to see me. I wasn't ready to be seen. But I wanted to answer your question, and I know I went about it the long way. But to answer your question, Oprah Winfrey inspired me. There's different writings that I've read, and it's hard to say one person because I read Toni Morrison, and the thing that I loved about her is because I loved how my aunties and my cousins and as soon as her book got released, they would get together. They would pick up the phone. Oh my God, did you read Toni Morrison's new book? Did you hear what she said? And when Monster came out, that was a big one in our community. My family was talking about that. Did you read Monster? And now he's like a local celebrity. So I think there's a lot of people that inspire me along the way that I don't even know their names. A lot of books I've read, a lot of poems I've read. There's inspiration from all Black people that I can't really name at this point. But just to throw it out there, I will say Oprah was a little bit of my inspiration because I knew that maybe one day I could be a part of the book club. I guess that's it.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, Keith.
Yeah, I think you've answered that really well. Let me ask you two questions, and then that's going to be it for me. I think it's going to be your life lesson. Talk a little bit about what's your life lesson at this point.
Oh, man, there's so many, right? Like I've learned so much throughout my life, and I'm gonna tell you, listening, listening. And I've been told that my whole life, you don't listen, you don't listen, you don't listen. And I don't think I understood what it meant at the time. It wasn't that I wasn't listening, because I heard what my mother was telling me. I heard what my grandfather was telling me. I heard what my grandmother was telling me. I didn't understand what it meant when they said you're not listening, because I still know the stories, the things that they told me. And I even think I was listening. I just didn't understand the application part of it, because I have something to say too. So when me being a writer, I have all of these words and all of these stories and all these characters in my head, but they want me to be quiet. Like, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. You should be listening to me, and not in a disrespectful way, but I'm like, hey, you telling me I'm great at this, then listen to me. I think that, the way we were raised, there was a one-way dialogue. The kids weren't really allowed to have an opinion. We weren't allowed to speak our mind. So I was told a lot to listen, but because I was told that so much, I went against it. And I felt like I had all the answers. And I remember, and I can hear it now. Like, I feel like my grandmother is here in spirit, and she's just like, I told you, I told you. but but I didn't listen. I didn't listen to a lot of things they were saying, because I thought I knew what I was doing. So I think if I would have slowed down a little bit, maybe not got married so early, made a different path in life, that things would have changed for me, but then I wouldn't be here, right? But I will say that I still could have made life a lot easier for me because they did have the answers. They had lived this life a little bit longer than I did. They did know what they were talking about. And I respected my grandmother. And I will say this, because she had so much life lesson in her, I did listen to her a lot more than anybody else. Anytime I had a problem, I didn't go to my mother. I didn't go to my aunties. I didn't go to people my age. I went to my grandmother. And anything she said, I'd be like, okay, you got it. That's what I'm doing. If it was something I was struggling with, I listened to her. But it had to be a moment when I was ready to hear it. She would probably be telling me a lot of this stuff all along. And then when everything blow up, now I'm coming to her for advice. And I'm like, Grandma, what should I do? And she's like, I've been telling you why you just didn't do it like this from day one. If you would have just listened. So that's it. And that's why my book is says shut up and listen.
I
That was
think
like
that's
that.
so cool because
Like that.
you were just sassy. That's all. You were just sassy, and they told you already. Just
Yep.
listen, but you were sassy. Let
Yep.
me
That's it. That's
let
it.
me.
Hard head make a soft behind. You know how it goes.
I didn't want to say it. I'm glad you said it. I remember hearing that so much. Get out of here, boy.
Yep.
Hard
Yep.
head, make us off behind.
That's it.
Talk a little bit about your legacy, what you see, and then what do you think about it? How do you play that out in your head?
Oh man, I love this question. So, my goal is generational wealth, right? Of course, I want this business to be passed down from generation to generation to generation. Obviously, my children have other interests. My daughter is into sports journalism, which is still a part of writing, but I don't think her goal is to run a publishing company. However, I will hire her for my sports section when we get to that level to write the sports section of the book. So, yeah, my goal is generational wealth legacy for Morris Publishing to be one of those great big names that you hear like Simon and Schuster. That's how I want my legacy to go. That's how I want to be remembered. I want my great 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 grandkids to be like, oh, Grandma T or Auntie T or great 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 grandma T. She wrote all of these books and she started Morris Publishing. I want to be able to hear my name from the grave. I want this to be something that I build that lasts for generations.
You know what? I think you're on your way. So that part you have
On your
laid the
way.
laid the foundation for that. What I like you to do right now is just I'm going to put you on the screen. I want you to give yourself the biggest shout out, how people can get a hold of you, all of the different things that you want everybody to know.
All right. So Morris Publishing House is available for all authors, new authors, or, if you're an existing author and you're having trouble with your manuscript, I can help you. I'm an author coach. You can reach out to me, morrispublishinghome.com, morrispublishinghome.com, because you're welcome home, right? So it's morrispublishinghome.com. You can also reach me by phone. My number is very easy. It's 508 Writers, WRITERS. That's it, 508 Writers. You can also follow us on Instagram, Moors_publishing. Anything you need, marketing, like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of it, but I know how to market a book on Amazon. So we're talking specifically books. This is separate from marketing a publishing company, which is completely different than marketing a book. That I can get you. It's a lot of things that you may not understand when it comes to publishing books on Amazon and making money. It's a lot of money into it. It's a lot of money in it. And people are making $20,000, $30,000 a month by publishing books on Amazon KDP. So even if you're not an author by heart, if you're just looking for a side income, I can help you kick up your KDP publishing account, get it started, and let's get some income running. So that's pretty much it. Author coaching, Amazon KDP. If you need marketing for Amazon KDP, I can help you with that. Anything that you can think of that you think I may not know, reach out to me and just ask me. Shoot me an email, Miss T Lane at morrispublishinghome.com, and that's MSTLANE at morrispublishinghome.com. just shoot me an email. And I should respond. Give me at least 24 hours, but I should be able to get right back to you. If I'm in the middle of writing and my email pops up, a lot of times I'll reply. I'll stop what I'm doing and reply right away. So, just reach out to me any way you can. Shoot me a DM. I don't, should I say it? Should I slide into my DMs? Send me a DM, whatever you can. Reach out to me and I'll be glad to help.
Wow.
Yes.
I just want to tell you, it's been a great conversation, great information,
Mm.
a lot of things that you've done that help a lot of people out there. And we're so proud of you here at KF&JF Podcast. And we look forward to you coming back on the show, doing some more updates about what you got going on, because I know there's a lot of people out there interested in what you're doing. So we thank you here at KF&JF Podcast.
You're
Razak?
welcome. Thanks for having me.